Hi students, good evening. So we are going to really um, start solving a few questions. Just few hours to go for the actual exam, right? I'm sure after 3 more hours of work, um, we are going to relax, sit back and relax, calm down, and prepare ourselves for the exam in that way, right? So gear up for the next 3 hours. We're going to solve a few questions, revise, so that we are able to really feel more confident while taking the exam, right? So basic idea of solving these questions at this point of time is to feel more confident about the whole process, right? ना, वही है, ठीक है। तो हाँ, एग्जाम के एक दिन पहले थोड़ा सा रिलैक्स होना जरूरी है, ठीक है। अभी आप कुछ क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लेंगे तो थोड़ा सा आपको कॉन्फिडेंस ज्यादा फील होगा, राइट? हाय, वेलकम वेलकम यू ऑल स्टूडेंट्स, राइट? अथर्व, हाय अथर्व, अक्षत, आई एम सॉरी, आकाश, आकाश, अथर्व, right? I welcome you all to the session, right? We are going to solve a few para completion, fill in the blanks and grammar questions in the session. Okay, great. Good evening, good evening, good evening all of you, right? So आज के इस सेशन का थीम भी कुछ ऐसा ही है, like theme is like we are not going to allow any negative thoughts to really attack us before the exam, right? So yes, we should take a pledge today, yes or no? No negative thoughts before the exam whatsoever, because this is the time, when the negative thoughts attack us the most, yes or no? Just before the exams we start getting all sorts of negative thoughts, yeah. So lay them to rest, right? Say goodbye to all the negative thoughts, sure, right? कोई नेगेटिव थॉट्स को आने मत दो, मैं वही तो बोल रहा हूं। संकल्प, आपके नाम में ही संकल्प है, राइट? तो संकल्प ले लीजिए आप, ठीक है? संकल्प ले लीजिए कि कोई नेगेटिव थॉट्स नहीं आने देंगे, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, राइट? और यही टाइम होता है, दिमाग सारे जो नेगेटिव थॉट्स हैं, इट स्टार्ट सप्लाइंग, योर माइंड बिकम्स अ स्टोर हाउस, राइट? इट स्टार्ट सप्लाइंग यू विद ऑल इन्वेंटरी ऑफ नेगेटिव थॉट्स। जितने नेगेटिव थॉट्स हैं वो अभी आएंगे सारे, ये सुनो। सो ठीक है, ये हमारी जो लड़ाई है नेगेटिव थॉट्स के साथ चलती रहेगी। लेट अस स्टार्ट सॉल्विंग द क्वेश्चंस, या ओके। सॉल्व दिस क्वेश्चन एंड लेट मी नो द आंसर, या स्टूडेंट्स? वाह भाई वाह! So yes, it was an easy question and good that all of you have got the answer correct. Great. We, yes, you're absolutely correct. The correct answer is, in fact, which should I choose? I think this is with, okay. Is in fact A. Despite the heavy rain. Despite of is wrong in any case, right? The event was successfully conducted. Great. Wonderful. Yeah, Lavina, tell me. Lavina wants to ask me something. Yeah, Lavina, most welcome. You can put your question forth. Yeah, Abhyansh sir was supposed to take the class today, but unfortunately he has some family emergency, so he had to go. So I came early to take the class. My session was scheduled at 5 p.m. So I had to come early to take the class. ठीक है, So I'm sure. Okay, Lavina wanted to ask me something, and the question is not yet there. Anyway, let us go further. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Okay, so फटाफट आपके सही आंसर्स आ रहे हैं, right? That's really nice to see. There are two connectors here. Number one is despite, number two is but, right? Both are not required. There is an error of redundancy. Yes or no? There is an error of redundancy. So simply put, despite his being very experienced in the field, but is not required. Because already despite has been used here, right? But is not required. Okay. So despite his being very experienced in the field. So now either I have to knock out but, right? So being very experienced in the field, he was not considered for the position, right? That's how it will go, right? The correct answer therefore is A. That's about it, right? B may, despite very experienced in the field doesn't make sense, right? Being is required. Despite having very experienced, this sentence construction is wrong, right? Despite having experience, right? This is wrong, right? Having been very experienced, this construction is also wrong. So there's only one option that you can go for, which you are all rightly marked. Great. Try this one out. See, Akriti, the previous question, Akriti's question is like, okay, I can go back to the previous question if you want. First, solve this question, Akriti, I'll go back to the previous question. First, let us discuss this question, Akriti, I'll go back to the previous question to explain your doubt. Why D is not correct, right? Okay. Why D is not correct, उस पर अपन वापस चलेंगे. इसको अपन देखते हैं पहले. Okay. The manager requested that each employee submit their report by the end of his week. Well, it seems the manager requested that each employee submits their report. The trouble is with each employee, right? Each employee is singular. Each employee is singular and there is plural, right? This is the trouble with the sentence structure. Okay? This is the trouble with the sentence structure. And the manager requested that each employee submits their, this has the same error, so this cannot be the choice. The manager requested that each employee submit his report. Even his or her, both would be fine. Okay. Therefore, this sentence is correct since each employee that is singular matches with the singular pronoun. ठीक है, singular सब्जेक्ट है, सिंगुलर प्रोनाउन आ गया उसके साथ, राइट. The manager requested that each employees in any case is wrong. The manager requested that each employees again is wrong. With each you cannot use the plural form, right? So bacha kaun sa? B is the correct answer. Now going back to the option D of the previous question number 2, let us take a look at that. Okay, having been very experienced, first of all, when I say having been, how do we use having been, right? Having been, right? So when I say um, right, the having been, basically having plus be, this is the third form, right? Right, right. Having been experienced in the field, but this is wrong in any case, right? Right. And having been is a passive voice in any case, right? So, but तो यहाँ पे गलत है ही in any case, right? I hope you have understood. Okay. I mean, having been experienced, having been very experienced, so it doesn't make sense in any case, right? So if I say having done it, having been to some place, you can say that, right? Because be, the third form of be is been. So when I say having been to London was a great experience, yes or no? Can I say this? If I say having been to London was a great experience. So with having, I use the V3 form, yes or no? Be and been. This is the V3 form with having. So having been to London was a great experience. ये हो जाएगा, ऐसा होगा. ठीक है, तो ये भी गलत है और ये भी गलत है. That's the point, right? Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Right. और by the way मैं आपको बता दूं, there may be very simple questions waiting for you in the question set. ठीक है, बहुत आसान questions भी कई बार आते हैं, they come your way, especially in the grammar question, in the grammar section, and you can easily score some 2, 3, 4 questions. You can solve them very quickly, right? Okay, let us see. I have got some mixed response. Let us first identify what the mistake is in the sentence. Okay, the trouble is with the sentence structure. क्या ध्यान में देना है इसमें अपने को? सेंटेंस स्ट्रक्चर के साथ क्या इसमें प्रॉब्लम है, जरा देखें. Right, see, whenever it comes to grammar, students keep these three things in your mind. Students keep these three things in your mind: meaning of the sentence, structure of the sentence, and usage of parts of speech. Have you understood this very clearly? जब भी कोई ग्रामर का क्वेश्चन आता है, right, and you should have these three elements in your mind while identifying the error, or even while trying to understand the concept of whatever the different aspects of grammar. आपको तीन aspects दिमाग में रखने हैं: meaning of a sentence, structure of a sentence, and the usage of parts of speech in the sentence. जरा इसका structure देखते हैं. The teacher discussed the novel in the class that was recently published. Okay. Now, what was recently published? May I know? What was recently published? The class was published or the novel was published? What was recently published? राइट. ये जो दैट है रिलेटिव प्रोनाउन नहीं है. ये रिलेटिव प्रोनाउन क्लास को रेफर कर रहा है कि नॉवल को रेफर कर रहा है? Which one does it refer to? The relative pronoun that refers to the noun class or the noun novel. What is the subject of the relative pronoun that? समझ आ रहा है मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं? इस relative pronoun that का subject क्या है? क्लास है कि नॉवल है? क्या है बताओ? हाँ, क्लास नहीं है इसका, right? That was recently published. What was recently published? Novel was recently published, which means this modifier that was recently published should be placed just after the novel. Yes or no? It should be placed just after the word novel. Yes or no? So the correct answer would be then what? The teacher discussed the novel that was recently published in the class. Right. Okay, that could be one of the answers. Let us see. I mean, this has the same problem, right? This has the same problem. Up to here, it's fine, right? In the class which was recently published, again, same problem. That the class was recently discussing, again, this totally, ये तो किसी और it's taking the whole thing in a different direction. So it's going out of context. There is no discussion happening here. Yeah, that was recently published. Yes or no? That was recently published. So that was recently published should be here. Yes or no? So in the class should not be here. That was recently published should be here. Therefore, my answer is D. Did you understand, students? Right? Even if you mark B, which was recently published, the class was not published. This is wrong. It's just like saying, I saw a lady with a monkey who was beautiful. Is the sentence correct? I am asking you. I saw a lady with a monkey who was beautiful. No, this is not the correct form, right? Structure इसका सुधारना पड़ेगा. Yes or no? कैसे सुधारोगे? I saw a lady who was beautiful with a monkey. Yes or no? So you'll need to put the modifiers in the right place in a sentence. तो ये उस पे बेस्ड क्वेश्चन है. हाँ, तो क्लास गलत था ना बेटा उसमें. See, you look at it this way. You look at it this way. एक काम करते हैं. हाँ, क्लास कहाँ गया? एक स्टूडेंट का क्वेश्चन है कहाँ. राइट, आई थिंक इट्स आकाश, राइट? डी ऑप्शन, क्लास कहाँ गया, राइट? सो आकाश इज आस्किंग मी क्लास कहाँ गया. देखें क्वेश्चन क्या था, अंडरलाइन पोर्शन क्या है? दिस इज द अंडरलाइन पोर्शन. यस और नो? सो यू आर बीइंग आस्क्ड अंडरलाइन पोर्शन में मिस्टेक क्या है. सही बोल रहा हूं मैं? अंडरलाइन पोर्शन में मिस्टेक क्या है, आपसे यही पूछा जा रहा है. तो अंडरलाइन पोर्शन को मैं क्या बना दूं? ए बना दूं, बी बना दूं, सी बना दूं या डी बना दूं? इज दैट द पॉइंट हियर? तो भाई यही तो गलत है इसमें. ये सही है तो इसको हटाना है. हटा दिया, सही हो गया. आकाश, क्लियर हुआ पॉइंट? पॉइंट क्लियर हुआ आकाश? क्लियर हो गया, समझ आया? सो टू द क्वेश्चन, इन ये क्लास कहां गया, राइट? सो दैट वाज रिसेंटली पब्लिश्ड इन द क्लास, राइट? द टीचर डिस्कस्ड द नॉवल दैट वाज रिसेंटली पब्लिश्ड. आइडियली स्पीकिंग इन द क्लास यहां पर आना चाहिए, राइट? दैट वाज रिसेंटली पब्लिश्ड इन द क्लास. हाँ, देन आई मीन फिर तो यार ए सही है. आकाश का पॉइंट सही है बॉस. Then it's perfectly fine. That was recently published in the class. Why not this one? Then A is better. Absolutely. इसमें in the class गायब हो गया. आकाश, I take your point. ठीक है, ठीक है. And then coming down to the point. हाँ, बिल्कुल सही है. That was, मेरा कहने का मतलब है नॉवल के बाद that was recently published आना चाहिए. A में आ रहा है. It's meeting the condition. Then in the class ये सेंटेंस को पूरा भी कर रहा है. There is no problem in this. So yes, this is a better option. ठीक है. हाँ, क्योंकि इसमें फिर इन द क्लास कहीं तो लिखोगे ना. सो ए इज द करेक्ट ऑप्शन. यू आर फाइन. अब दूसरी बात आ रही है क्या? बी ऑप्शन में इन द क्लास विच वाज रिसेंटली पब्लिश्ड. इस ऑप्शन में तो प्रॉब्लम है ना. केवल कॉमा में प्रॉब्लम नहीं है इसमें, प्रॉब्लम यहां पर आ रहा है विच वॉज पब्लिश्ड में। विच किसको रेफर कर रहा है? क्लास को रेफर कर रहा है। क्लास वॉज नॉट पब्लिश्ड, यस और नो? क्लास थोड़ी पब्लिश होता है, नॉवल पब्लिश होता है। तो ये तो वैसे भी गलत हो गया। क्लियर हो गया पॉइंट? Usually you will have the instructions. In 99% of the cases, you need not pay attention to the punctuation marks unless clearly instructed to you. Okay? या आकृति? हाँ, यूजुअली अगर पंक्चुएशन मार्क्स का एरर होता है तो दे राइट इट इन द इंस्ट्रक्शंस. So far in the questions that I have seen in IPMAT Indore question papers, there haven't been any mistakes related to punctuation mark. So let us go by the trend. अभी तक तो मैंने नहीं देखे, कोई punctuation mark वाले questions नहीं देखे. Is that very clear to all of you? Right, so Akriti had a specific question, क्या punctuation mark भी देखना होता है कि? Okay? ठीक है भाई, great. Wonderful students, you're going great guns. चलो पांचवा क्वेश्चन देखिए. This is a sitter, and I'm sure you are going to just pounce on this question and solve it very fast. बहुत जल्दी इस क्वेश्चन को आप सॉल्व करने वाले. हाँ, टिप्स तो मैं बीच बीच में आपको देता रहूंगा, आप समझना. राइट, बीच बीच में अपन टिप्स की भी बात करेंगे. आई होप इट्स ओके विद ऑल ऑफ यू. ठीक है, क्वेश्चंस तो लगे रहेंगे, है ना? कुछ चीजों का आप खास ध्यान रखना क्वेश्चन पेपर में. आई बिलीव you are going to expect around 18 questions of reading comprehension and 22 questions of VA. Yes or no, students? 18 questions of RC and 22 questions of VA. ऐसे ही होने वाला है. और इनमें से मैं आपको बता रहा हूं क्या है. इनमें से जो 22 क्वेश्चंस है VA के, उनमें भी ग्रामर और वोकैबुलरी के क्वेश्चंस यू कैन सॉल्व देम वेरी फास्ट. यस और नो? So if you have a decent command of grammar and vocabulary, I would strongly suggest that you solve the grammar and vocabulary easy questions first and then start solving the RC and all. ठीक है, absolutely, adequately. ये problem है इसमें. It should be adequately prepared. Yes or no? So he admitted to me that he had not adequately prepared for the test. B is the correct answers, but I'm sure students, you're all adequately prepared and you should be confident. Okay. ठीक है, चलो इसको देखो. ठीक है, तो याद रखना, just as somebody said tips for the exam, there will be 18 questions of RC and 22 questions of VA. Okay, इसमें खतरा क्या होता है? You may get stuck with some tough RC, okay, and end up wasting a lot of time. And if you get stuck with a few questions, what will happen is there'll be a lot of stress on you. हाँ या ना? ठीक है, तो हाउ मच टाइम टू स्पेंड तो मैं नहीं बोलूंगा. इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द डिफिकल्टी लेवल ऑफ द रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन सेट्स. आप पहले ये आइडेंटिफाई कर लो एग्जाम हॉल में बैठ करके which questions you can solve first, right? Especially the easier questions, you should lay your hands on the easier questions first. तो मेरे हिसाब से वर्बल से आप स्टार्ट करोगे. Out of the 22 questions, I'm sure you will be able to solve 15 to 17 questions. Yes or no? ठीक है, डी क्यों नहीं हो सकता है इसमें? He admitted to me that he was not, ये प्रिपरेशन है ना, इसमें प्रिपेयर्ड नहीं है. उसमें हो सकता था अगर प्रिपेयर्ड लिखा होता तो दिस वुड हैव आल्सो बीन द करेक्ट ऑप्शन. क्लियर है? आकाश समझ आ गया डी क्यों नहीं हो सकता? इसमें प्रिपरेशंस लिखा है ना, प्रिपेयर्ड होना चाहिए, दिस इज रॉन्ग। ठीक है, हाँ। सो भाई पॉइंट ये है रिगार्डिंग टिप्स फॉर क्रैकिंग द एग्जाम, गो फॉर द इजियर क्वेश्चंस फर्स्ट। 22 क्वेश्चंस जो बीए के हैं उन पे पहले ध्यान लगाइए, ट्राई टू आइडेंटिफाई द इजियर क्वेश्चंस, सॉल्व द फिल इन द ब्लैंक ग्रामर वोकैबुलरी क्वेश्चंस फर्स्ट, and then start solving the RC part. Even in the RC part, identify the most easily readable passage first. जो पहला पैसेज आप स्टार्ट कर रहे हो वो इजी होना चाहिए, ये आपकी जिम्मेदारी है। पहले ही पैसेज आपने थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड उठा लिया, आप पे स्ट्रेस आ जाएगा। तो आपको स्कैन करना चाहिए पैसेजेस को, 4-4 5-5 सेंटेंसेस हर पैसेज का पढ़ना चाहिए, देखने के लिए कि आप पैसेजेस को अच्छे से पढ़ पा रहे हो क्या। समझ आ रही है मेरी बात आपको, राइट? सो माय पॉइंट इज, वेल इफ यू कैन स्कोर, इफ यू कैन सॉल्व, लेट अस से वो 40 क्वेश्चंस में से अगर आप 35 सॉल्व कर सकते हो या 30 सॉल्व कर सकते हो, जो भी आपका पोटेंशियल है, उससे कम नहीं करना है आपको, उससे कम नहीं करना। हाउ टू आइडेंटिफाई द इजी वन? आरसी का सीधा फंडा है, you will not be able to identify the easy questions, but you will be able to identify the familiar passages. मैंने क्या वर्ड बोला अभी, क्या वर्ड बोला? फेमिलियर पैसेजेस, राइट? तो आरसी में बच्चों इजी का मतलब क्या है? आरसी में इजी का मतलब है फेमिलियर। क्या है? फेमिलियर। एनीथिंग दैट्स फेमिलियर आई विल बी एबल टू रीड इट, राइट? समथिंग दैट्स अनफेमिलियर, फिलॉसफी, साइकोलॉजी, इकोनॉमिक्स, ऐसा कुछ आ गया जो आप जिससे फेमिलियर नहीं है, अगर आपको 5-6 सेंटेंसेस पढ़ के समझ आ जाएगा, राइट? आई होप आई एम राइट, यू आर एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड माय पॉइंट्स क्लियरली। समझ आ रही है बात मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, राइट? हाँ आकाश, यस, आई गुड दैट यू अंडरस्टूड द पॉइंट। बात समझ आ रही है मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? तो कोई तरीका नहीं टू रियली फाइंड आउट इजी आरसी कौन सा है, बट जनरली स्पीकिंग मुश्किल आरसी में फंसने का डर होता है। Try to understand, right? I may not be able to find out the easiest RC. There's no magic font for that. Yeah, but I can avoid getting stuck with a difficult or complex RC with which I'm not familiar. Yes or no, students? So what are you trying to do? Only are you trying to identify only the easier RCs, or are you trying to avoid getting stuck with a difficult RC? Priority क्या है अपनी? समझ आ रही बात? हाँ, प्रायोरिटी अपनी ये है, हमें डिफिकल्ट आरसी में फंसना नहीं, दैट इज अबाउट आरसी का मेन प्रायोरिटी। आपको पढ़ के समझ आ गया, इन 99% यू विल बी एबल टू सॉल्व द क्वेश्चंस। ग्रेट, सो आगे बढ़ते हैं, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करिए। हाँ, पैराजम्बल्स का एक वाईटी सेशन मैंने लिया था कुछ दिनों पहले, राइट? और पैराजम्बल्स में अगर बहुत ज्यादा स्टक होते हो तो आपको छोड़ना पड़ जाएगा एग्जाम में, दैट यू हैव टू टेक ए कॉल इन द एग्जाम हॉल। तो उसको आप पहले सॉल्व मत करना, whichever questions you feel you will get stuck with, don't take those questions, start attempting those questions in the beginning, बाद में देखना उसको, है ना? पहले जो बन रहा है उसको अच्छे से करना। समझ आ रहा है तिलक? जो बन रहा है उसको पहले करना अच्छे से, पैराजम्बल्स को बाद के लिए छोड़ देना। ठीक है भाई, अब आते हैं इस पे। The documentary aiming to highlight the plight of endangered species was narrated by a well-known environmentalist. ठीक है, आपको एक चीज मैं बताऊं, राइट? ध्यान से सुनना मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं। एक मॉडिफायर का एरर होता है जिसको डैंगलिंग मॉडिफायर बोलते हैं। डैंगलिंग मॉडिफायर का मतलब स्टूडेंट्स होता है एक पार्टिसिपल जो होता है उसका गलत इस्तेमाल होता है सेंटेंस में, इट्स रॉन्गली यूज्ड इन द सेंटेंस। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर मैंने एक ऐसा सेंटेंस लिखा, गोइंग अप द हिल, गोइंग अप द हिल एन ओल्ड टेम्पल वॉज सीन, गोइंग अप द हिल एन ओल्ड टेम्पल वॉज सीन, आप इसको कैसे सही करोगे, सोच के देखिए। राइट, मैंने एक सेंटेंस लिखा, गोइंग अप द हिल एन ओल्ड टेम्पल वाज सीन। अरे यार, इस सेंटेंस का तो मतलब ये हो गया कि मैंने मंदिर को ऊपर जाते हुए देखा। यस और नो? गोइंग अप द हिल, लेट अस से, राइट, व्हाट डिड आई सी? आई एम सॉरी, एन ओल्ड टेम्पल वाज सीन, एन ओल्ड टेम्पल वाज सीन, हाँ, एन ओल्ड टेम्पल वाज सीन। अगर मैं ये बोलता हूं ऐसे, तो इसमें तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि मैंने ओल्ड टेम्पल को देखा, मंदिर को ऊपर जाते हुए देखा। But then, going up the hill, there should be the correct subject here, right? There should be the correct subject here, right? Correct subject को कैसे लिखेंगे हम? Going up the hill, I saw an old temple, right? Going up the hill, I saw an old temple. I saw an old temple. Can you see the difference between the two construction students? Going up the hill, ये जो होता है ये participle कहलाता है, इसके लिए एक सब्जेक्ट की जरूरत होती है, राइट? इसी तरह से एमिंग टू हाईलाइट द फ्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, ये एक इस तरह का पार्टिसिपल है, एमिंग टू हाईलाइट द फ्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज। ये कौन, इसका सब्जेक्ट क्या होगा, क्या लगता है आपको? राइट, राइट, एमिंग टू हाईलाइट द फ्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, ठीक है? ये एम तो यार डॉक्यूमेंट्री का नहीं होगा, राइट? ये एम डॉक्यूमेंट्री का नहीं होगा, यस और नो? एक तरह से देखा जाए तो ये एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट का होगा। अब देखिए, राइट, सो it says the documentary was narrated by a well-known environmentalist aiming to highlight the plight of, right, so okay, here it seems the environmentalist was aiming to highlight the plight of endangered species, देखते हैं, which was narrated by a well-known environmentalist, right? Aim to, okay, now aim to, ये किसके लिए आ रहा है? डॉक्यूमेंट्री के लिए, राइट? राइट, डॉक्यूमेंट्री was narrated by a well-known environmentalist aiming to highlight the plight of endangered species, right? Now the trouble is with aiming to, right? ये जो पोर्शन है ये गलत है, राइट? सो बेसिकली यहां जो एम टू हाईलाइट द प्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज है, ये डॉक्यूमेंट्री से कनेक्ट हो रहा है, ठीक है? सो द डॉक्यूमेंट्री एम टू हाईलाइट द प्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, ये आना चाहिए, राइट? तो अगर इसको उल्टा लिखो तो कैसे लिखोगे आप? एमिंग टू हाईलाइट द प्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, द डॉक्यूमेंट्री वाज नरेटेड बाय अ वेल नोन एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट, ऐसे आ रहा है, ठीक है? द डॉक्यूमेंट्री वाज नरेटेड बाय अ वेल नोन एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट एमिंग टू हाईलाइट, राइट? तो ये जो एमिंग टू हाईलाइट है वो एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट को डिस्क्राइब कर रहा है या डॉक्यूमेंट्री को कर रहा है, इसमें एम्बिग्विटी आ रही है। समझ रहे हैं मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं? इसको डैंगलिंग मॉडिफायर बोलते हैं, ठीक है? मतलब अगर मैं इसको ऐसे लिखता, एमिंग टू हाईलाइट द प्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, द डॉक्यूमेंट्री वाज नरेटेड बाय अ वेल नोन एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट। अगर मैं इसको ऐसे लिख देता तो आप क्या बोलते? ये सही है, गलत है ना? ये बाद में लिखा तो आपको सही लग रहा है, अगर मैं इसको पहले लिख देता, जैसे अगर मैं बोलता गोइंग अप द हिल एंड ओल्ड टेम्पल वाज सीन, या मैं ऐसे भी बोलता उसको एंड ओल्ड टेम्पल वाज सीन गोइंग अप द हिल, तो कुछ फर्क पड़ता है क्या? दोनों केस में वो सेंटेंस गलत ही ना होता, राइट? इन बोथ द केसेस द सेंटेंस वुड बी रॉन्ग ओनली बिकॉज मॉडिफिकेशन गलत ही हो रहा है उसका, है ना? गोइंग अप द हिल एंड ओल्ड टेम्पल वाज सीन, मुझे गोइंग अप द हिल का सही सब्जेक्ट चाहिए। उसी तरह से यहां पे एमिंग टू हाईलाइट द फ्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, इसका मुझे सही सब्जेक्ट चाहिए, और इसका सही सब्जेक्ट है डॉक्यूमेंट्री, ठीक है? तो इसका रीस्टेटमेंट हम ढूंढ रहे हैं एक तरह से, ठीक है। तो बेसिकली जो यू नो एम है वो डॉक्यूमेंट्री का ही है। तो इसमें तो ऐसा लग रहा है एमिंग टू हाईलाइट द प्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, वो एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट का है कि डॉक्यूमेंट्री का है, ये क्लियर नहीं हो रहा, ठीक है। सो इट्स क्रिएटिंग कंफ्यूजन, सो दिस कैन नॉट बी द आंसर देयरफॉर, ठीक है। इसको आप ऐसे भी लिख सकते हो, एमिंग टू हाईलाइट द प्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, राइट। द डॉक्यूमेंट्री वॉज नरेटेड बाय वेल नोन, so again it's creating the subject mismatch. The documentary which was narrated, ये which word डाल के वो ambiguity खत्म कर दिया आपने इसमें, this is the best construction. The documentary which was narrated by a well-known environmentalist aim to, तो इसमें subject का कोई confusion आ ही नहीं रहा, right? which किसको रेफर कर रहा है, डॉक्यूमेंट्री को रेफर कर रहा है। aimed to का subject क्या है, डॉक्यूमेंट्री। सो सब्जेक्ट वर्ब कनेक्शन में बिल्कुल एम्बिग्विटी नहीं आ रही है, यहाँ पे एनवायरमेंटली सब्जेक्ट है कि डॉक्यूमेंट्री सब्जेक्ट है, एमिंग का कंफ्यूजन आ रहा है, वो कंफ्यूजन दूर हो जा रहा है बी में, विच डॉक्यूमेंट्री को रेफर कर रहा है, और एम टू का जो सब्जेक्ट है वो डॉक्यूमेंट्री है, इसलिए बी आंसर होना चाहिए, राइट। द डॉक्यूमेंट्री एम टू हाईलाइट द प्लाइट ऑफ एंड वाज नरेटेड, राइट, बाय अ वेल नोन, the documentary aimed to highlight, right, but then and was narrated, but then this actually spoils the construction, right. The documentary aimed to highlight the plight of endangered species and was narrated by a, right, so and was narrated is not a proper restatement of which was narrated, मतलब आप उसको एक कंपाउंड सेंटेंस में बना रहे हो ना, राइट। एक तरफ आप बोल रहे हो डॉक्यूमेंट्री एक ने बनाई और उसको नरेट किसी और ने किया, सो बेसिकली यू आर क्रिएटिंग टू पैरेलल कंस्ट्रक्शंस आउट हियर, नॉट रिक्वायर्ड, राइट। सो द बेस्ट ऑप्शन इज बी, narrated by a well-known environmentalist aim to highlight the plight of endangered species, ठीक है। ओके, सो यार इसमें ठीक है, आई विल कम बैक टू दिस क्वेश्चन वंस अगेन, ठीक है, 6 पे वापस आते हैं एक बार फिर से, बट गोइंग बाय द कंपैरिजन, राइट, क्योंकि उसमें आई थिंक द ऑप्शंस आर रियली वेरी क्लोज। द डॉक्यूमेंट्री नरेटेड बाय अ वेल नोन एनवायरमेंटलिस्ट एम टू हाईलाइट द प्लाइट ऑफ एंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, राइट, डी सही है, आई डोंट सी एनी डायरेक्ट मिस्टेक इन दिस, राइट। which was narrated by an environmentalist, right now B और D को कंपेयर करना पड़ेगा, B वर्सेस D, ठीक है। A को तो एलिमिनेट कर दिया, द डॉक्यूमेंट्री एम टू हाईलाइट द प्लाइट ऑफ एंड वाज नरेटेड, ये एंड वाज नरेटेड इज नॉट द करेक्ट वे ऑफ पुटिंग दिस सेंटेंस, ठीक है। was narrated यहाँ पर आ रहा है, इसका मतलब and was narrated कर दोगे तो it was like you are creating two parallel constructions, so इसका ये भी eliminate हो जाएगा, so the close options that remain, which was narrated by environmentalists aim to highlight the plight of endangered species, nothing wrong in both the options B और D, बस एक difference है, B में which है और इसमें which नहीं है, right, which was narrated, so narrated by aim to highlight, right, so which was narrated is correct, it says narrated by a, तो narrated by a well known environmentalist ये हो जाएगा खुद एक participle construction, ठीक है, समझ आ रहा है। तो the documentary narrated by a well known and aim to highlight, narrated by a well known environmentalist, the documentary aim to highlight the plight of endangered species, इसमें दो सही आंसर्स हैं बच्चों, ये दोनों सही, right, both B and D are correct constructions, ठीक है. सो गोइंग बाय द लॉजिक बोथ बी एंड डी आर करेक्ट कंस्ट्रक्शंस. इसमें डी में भी कोई गलती नहीं है और बी में भी कोई गलती नहीं. सो ठीक है, लेट्स go on to move on to the next question. There is no ambiguity in the previous question. Both B and D are correct constructions. That is how we can resolve that. The concept of modifiers can be better understood through this question. पिछले क्वेश्चंस में वो दो ऑप्शन सही होने की वजह से थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन हो गया था. इस क्वेश्चन को आप देखिए एक बार. आपको याद होगा थोड़ी देर पहले मैंने एक एग्जांपल दिया था. गोइंग अप द हिल एन ओल्ड टेम्पल वाज सीन. ओके, स्टैंडिंग एट द गेट आई सॉ अ पर्सन कमिंग टुवर्ड्स मी. मतलब मैं गेट पे खड़ा था और किसी को मैंने अपनी तरफ आके आते हुए देखा. तो मैं क्या बोलूंगा? स्टैंडिंग एट द गेट. हु वाज स्टैंडिंग एट द गेट? आई वाज स्टैंडिंग एट द गेट. तो सेंटेंस कैसे बनेगा? स्टैंडिंग एट द गेट आई, राइट? स्टैंडिंग एट द गेट आई सॉ समबडी कमिंग टुवर्ड्स मी. ऐसे ही होगा. तो मेरा पॉइंट ये है, स्टैंडिंग एट द गेट एक पार्टिसिपल है. उस पार्टिसिपल का मुझे सब्जेक्ट चाहिए होता है. ठीक है. वैसे ही यहां पे इसको परफेक्ट पार्टिसिपल बोलते हैं. क्या बोलते हैं स्टूडेंट्स इसको? परफेक्ट पार्टिसिपल. सो रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल. ये हो गया आपका पार्टिसिपल का पार्ट. ठीक है. ओके. अब आई मीन रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल, राइट? तो बेसिकली इसका जो सब्जेक्ट होगा वो क्या होगा, हमें ये देखना है, राइट? रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल, राइट? मेनी रीडर्स. ठीक है, मेनी रीडर्स. आपको लगता है रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज जो है मेनी रीडर्स से कनेक्ट हो रहा है, राइट? जैसे किसी ने ए मार्क किया है, मैंने इसे रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज, तो क्या लिखा होगा? बुक लिखा होगा. हाँ या ना? बुक को लिखा होगा ना, रीडर्स को तो नहीं लिखा होगा. Yes or no? So what was written? Were the readers written? No. So this cannot be the correct answer. Yeah. Written in plain language to be accessible. The complexity of ideas in the book surprise many readers. ये हो सकता है, right? यार, written in plain language to be accessible. ये word जो written है, can I say many readers were see many readers, क्या इसका सब्जेक्ट हो सकता है? written in plain language to be accessible, क्या इसका सब्जेक्ट many readers हो सकता है? राइट, राइट. जैसे मैं बोलूं वर्किंग सिंगिंग सॉफ्टली. सपोज मैंने ये लिखा, सिंगिंग सॉफ्टली, अ स्टूडेंट एंटर्ड द क्लास, अ स्टूडेंट एंटर्ड द क्लास, अगर मैंने ये बोला तो सिंगिंग सॉफ्टली के बाद आप लिख सकते हो अ क्लास was entered by the student, right? When I can I say singing softly, a class was taken by the faculty member, or singing softly, a faculty member took the class? क्या सही होगा? तो सिंगिंग सॉफ्टली में मुझे देखना नहीं पड़ेगा कौन गा रहा था, और वैसे ही रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज में भाई किस चीज को लिखा गया? तो क्या मेनी रीडर्स को लिखा गया? नहीं, किताब को लिखा गया ना, किताब को लिखा गया। तो रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल, इसका सब्जेक्ट क्या होगा? मेनी रीडर्स होगा कि बुक होगा? द कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ऑफ आइडियाज इन द बुक होगा। सो द कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी इन द आइडियाज ऑफ द बुक, उसको प्लेन लैंग्वेज में लिखा गया। इसका मतलब रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल है ना, रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल का सब्जेक्ट क्या होगा? द कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीज ऑफ आइडियाज इन द बुक। इसी को सिंपल लैंग्वेज में लिखा गया, मेनी रीडर्स को नहीं लिखा गया। तो ये इसका सब्जेक्ट नहीं होगा, इसलिए ए तो आंसर नहीं हो सकता। ये क्लियर हुआ? ठीक है। जैसे मैं नहीं बोल सकता गोइंग अप द हिल एन ओल्ड टेम्पल वाज सीन, क्यों नहीं बोल सकता मैं? क्योंकि मंदिर थोड़ी ऊपर जा रहा था। सो गोइंग अप द हिल के बाद वो सब्जेक्ट आएगा जो ऊपर जा, जो उससे कनेक्टेड है। इसी तरह से रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज, व्हाट वाज रिटन? बुक वाज रिटन, इसका सब्जेक्ट बुक है ना कि रीडर्स, तो दिस विल गो अवे, राइट? आपने इसको एलिमिनेट कर दिया। रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल, इट वाज द बुक, ये गलत कंस्ट्रक्शन है। समझ आ रहा है? इट नहीं आएगा इसके बाद, रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल के बाद इट नहीं आएगा, राइट? सिंपली वो सब्जेक्ट आएगा, उसका डायरेक्ट रेफरेंस आएगा, राइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई कैन नॉट से गोइंग अप द हिल इट वॉज द ओल्ड टेम्पल, ठीक है? गोइंग अप द हिल इट वॉज द ओल्ड टेम्पल आई सॉ, मैं ऐसा नहीं बोल सकता। गोइंग अप द हिल के बाद डायरेक्टली ओल्ड टेम्पल आएगा। वैसे ही रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज के बाद उसका सब्जेक्ट डायरेक्टली आना चाहिए, ठीक? ठीक है। रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल, द बुक, इसका सोचा जा सकता है द बुक सरप्राइजिंग मेनी रीडर्स विद द कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ऑफ आइडियाज, राइट? कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ऑफ आइडियाज, लेकिन यहां तो बात अधूरी रह गई ना, द बुक सरप्राइजिंग मेनी रीडर्स, राइट? तो रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज, द बुक, लाइक सरप्राइज का आना जरूरी है क्योंकि हमें सेंटेंस खत्म करना है, राइट? सरप्राइजिंग मेनी रीडर्स विद इट्स कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ऑफ आइडियाज, इट रिक्वायर्स मोर इंफॉर्मेशन, यस और नो? Surprising many readers with its complexity of ideas, the book was written in plain language। ऐसा होता सेंटेंस तो फिर हम डी सेलेक्ट करते, ठीक है? लेकिन सेंटेंस तो ऐसा है नहीं, राइट? पार्टिसिपल तो यहां आ रहा है, इसका मतलब रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज टू बी एक्सेसिबल, राइट? द कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ऑफ आइडियाज इन द बुक, जिसको प्लेन लैंग्वेज में लिखा गया, सरप्राइज मेनी रीडर्स, दिस कंप्लीट्स द होल आइडिया वेरी क्लियरली एंड स्मूथली। दिस इज द करेक्ट आंसर। क्लियर हुआ? हाँ, टेम्पल वाले आप समझ लो मैं आपको क्या बता रहा हूं, ठीक है? इसमें हर बार मैं आपको स्टूडेंट्स क्या बता रहा हूं, मैं आपको पैटर्न बता रहा हूं। पैटर्न का मतलब यहां पर क्या आ रहा है? पैटर्न, पैटर्न किसका आ रहा है यहां पे? हम पैटर्न की बात करते हैं, तो पैटर्न की बात कर रहे हैं, तो इसमें अपन पार्टिसिपल की बात कर रहे हैं, राइट? पार्टिसिपल, पार्टिसिपल में क्या होता है? तीन तरह के पार्टिसिपल्स होते हैं, राइट? एक प्रेजेंट पार्टिसिपल होता है, एक पास्ट पार्टिसिपल होता है, एक परफेक्ट पार्टिसिपल होता है, ठीक है? प्रेजेंट पार्टिसिपल में आईएनजी आता है वर्ब के साथ, ठीक है? एडजेक्टिव का काम करता है पार्टिसिपल। फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने बोला बीइंग इल आई कुड नॉट अटेंड द सेशन, ये प्रेजेंट पार्टिसिपल हो गया। समझ आ रहा है? गोइंग अप द हिल आई सॉ एन ओल्ड टेम्पल, ये भी प्रेजेंट पार्टिसिपल हो गया। समझ आ रहा है? तो होता क्या है पार्टिसिपल में, एक मॉडिफायर आता है और उसके साथ उसका सब्जेक्ट आता है, ये उसका पैटर्न है, ठीक है? तो हाँ, वी कैन मूव अ लिटिल फास्ट, नो डाउट, ठीक है? सो बेसिकली अगर मैं बोलता है हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न, एन एक्सीडेंट हैपेंड, हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न एन एक्सीडेंट हैपेंड, क्या ये सेंटेंस सही होगा? राइट, हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न एन एक्सीडेंट हैपेंड, क्या ये सेंटेंस सही होगा? एंड इन द मीन टाइम द अदर्स हु हैव सॉर्ट ऑफ डन इट, क्या? हाँ, जिसको डाउट आ रहा है वो इस सेंटेंस पे एक बार सोच लो, हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न एन एक्सीडेंट हैपेंड, हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न एन एक्सीडेंट हैपेंड। अरे भाई, हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न, एक्सीडेंट ने थोड़ी रॉन्ग टर्न लिया था, रॉन्ग टर्न एक्सीडेंट ने नहीं लिया था, रॉन्ग टर्न किसने लिया था? कार ने लिया था। तो मैं बोलूंगा हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न। अरे यार, रॉन्ग टर्न किसने लिया था? कार ने लिया था। तो हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न इस पार्टिसिपल का सब्जेक्ट क्या होगा? कार होगा। तो अगर ऐसा लिखा है सेंटेंस में, हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न एन एक्सीडेंट हैपेंड, तो गलत हो जाएगा, एक्सीडेंट ने थोड़ी रॉन्ग टर्न लिया था। समझ आया? ठीक वैसे ही एरर इसमें है, मेनी रीडर्स, रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज मेनी रीडर्स, ठीक है, हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न एक्सीडेंट हैपेंड, एक्सीडेंट का एक्सीडेंट सब्जेक्ट नहीं होगा हैविंग टेकन अ रॉन्ग टर्न का। उसी तरह से रिटन इन प्लेन लैंग्वेज का सब्जेक्ट मेनी रीडर्स नहीं होगा। पॉइंट ये, ठीक है। अब इस क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करो। अब कुछ पैरा कंप्लीशन के क्वेश्चंस करते हैं फटाफट। एक आध बीच में टफ क्वेश्चन करोगे? लेट मी सी द कमेंट्स। राइट, लेट मी सी द कमेंट्स। एक आध बीच में टफ क्वेश्चन करोगे? करोगे कि एग्जाम से पहले टफ क्वेश्चन नहीं करना है, कि करना है? क्या बोलते हो? एग्जाम के जस्ट पहले टफ क्वेश्चन करना है, नहीं करना है? चलो ठीक है, हाँ, वेरी गुड। Addressing global food security challenges requires innovative agricultural practices, साफ ही लिख दिया इसने, and technologies by enhancing agricultural efficiency and sustainability. Right. These innovations can help ensure stable food supply. ठीक है। प्रेसिशन फार्मिंग टेक्निक्स यूटिलाइज जीपीएस। अब ये जो प्रेसिशन फार्मिंग टेक्निक्स है, ये क्लियरली कनेक्ट हो रहा है इनोवेटिव एग्रीकल्चरल प्रैक्टिसेस से। तो ये बड़ा स्ट्रॉन्ग कंटेंडर है, दिस कैन बी द करेक्ट ऑप्शन। द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ ड्रॉट रेजिस्टेंट क्रॉप बड़ा स्पेसिफिक हो जा रहा है, और दिस इज टॉकिंग अबाउट जनरल इनोवेटिव एग्रीकल्चरल प्रैक्टिसेस which directly connects with precision farming techniques. Precision farming techniques is the broader one, and I can see that all of you have picked the correct option. A is the correct option, and I'm sure you can evidently see other options are wrong. Right? Drought resistant काफी specific हो जा रहा है, हमें चाहिए एक जनरल ऑप्शन जो इनोवेटिव एग्रीकल्चर प्रैक्टिस से कनेक्ट करे। अर्बन वर्टिकल फार्म्स आर इंक्रीजिंग, इनके बढ़ने से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा, इंक्रीज और डिक्रीज, whether they increase or decrease, it doesn't connect with the idea of general idea of innovative agricultural practices. The global organic food movement emphasizes, right? So the focus of the global organic food movement is irrelevant to the paragraph. इसका कोई मतलब ही नहीं है पैराग्राफ से। Okay, fine. Most of you got it right. Solve this one. This class will continue up to 7 o'clock. Roughly up to 7 o'clock, yeah. Okay, as renewable energy resources become more prevalent, the challenge of storing energy is the key, students, and you have got it right. These storage needs directly connects with the challenge of storing energy. There is only one option that so clearly connects with these storage needs. तो आपको साफ ही दिख गया, and most of you have got it right. Wonderful, keep going. That's nice. ठीक है. Now I am not explaining the other options because you can very easily see the expansion of hydroelectric power contributes to renewable energy portfolios, doesn't talk about storing energy. Solar panel efficiency improvements have lowered the cost of solar energy. It talks about the cost part. Wind farms are being developed in offshore locations to capture stronger winds. Again, it doesn't talk about storage directly. So, well, A is the evident correct option. Great going. You got it right. So I'm sure whenever you look at an easy question, you should be really fast in solving those questions. The proliferation means spread. Okay. So the spread of smart home devices has raised concerns about cyber security and the protection of personal data. ठीक है. So concerns about cyber security is addressed only by these manufacturers implementing stronger encryption methods and safeguard data. So, and other smart TVs offering streaming or energy monitoring devices or voice activated assistance controlling various devices are not relevant to the point at all. Right? A is the correct answer. All the other options are out of scope, irrelevant. बड़ी आसानी से हमको समझ आ रहा है. Okay, wonderful. So, okay, let's see. We can compare A and D in this probably. So, let's see. Yeah, Yoshita. Okay, A or D. Okay, let's look at the question now. The fast fashion industry has significant environmental and social impacts from excessive waste production to labor exploitation. Okay, fine. This is the scope of the problem. Okay, fine. Addressing these issues requires a concerted effort towards sustainable practices and ethical manufacturing. ये बोल रहा है. ठीक है. So well, recycling programs, so something that sits here, ठीक है, should connect with this and should also connect with this part. ओके, दोनों पार्ट से कनेक्ट होना उसका जरूरी है. चलो इसको देखते हैं. फर्स्ट ऑप्शन ए को टेस्ट करते हैं. ठीक है, रिसाइकलिंग प्रोग्राम्स फॉर क्लोथिंग आर बिकमिंग मोर कॉमन टू रिड्यूस वेस्ट. ओके, ओके, then it says addressing these issues. Okay, consumer awareness campaigns are highlighting the importance of ethical consumption. Okay, consumer awareness campaign, it says. Okay, so now consumer awareness campaigns, what do they focus on? Consumer awareness campaigns, right? um right, it says excessive waste production, yes or no? So consumer awareness doesn't connect with excessive waste production. Students, yes or no? Huh? Excessive waste production हो रहा है तो recycling programs would be a direct hit. Don't you think so? Generating awareness could be a broader perspective, but here the problem is very specific, right? From excessive waste production to labor exploitation. That is the scope of the problem, which has been specifically mentioned, right? So recycling programs for clothing are becoming more common to reduce waste. So since this directly talks about waste production, okay, so this would be a better choice than consumer awareness campaigns, right? Ethical consumption. So, well, you need to reduce waste production, yes or no? So, recycling programs will reduce waste. Consumer awareness of ethical consumption, it's about what they consume. This is about the production itself, not consumption. Yes or no? It's about production, not consumption. Okay? Huh. See, it's saying A, environmental and B, social impacts. Okay, from and then it sets a range. What is that range? Excessive waste production to labor exploitation. Now, none of these options talk about labor exploitation. Yes or no? If you go by the options, क्या कोई ऐसा ऑप्शन है जो लेबर एक्सप्लॉइटेशन की बात कर रहा है? पहला तो सेंटेंस हमको बता रहा है कि ये प्रॉब्लम है, एनवायरमेंटल से लेके सोशल इम्पैक्ट तक की प्रॉब्लम है. फिर उसका स्कोप यहां से सेट हो रहा है, स्कोप यहां से सेट हो रहा है, फ्रॉम से लेकर के टू तक. दिस इज द स्कोप ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम. स्कोप में क्या आ रहा है? एक्सेसिव वेस्ट प्रोडक्शन, उससे डायरेक्टली ए कनेक्ट हो रहा है. एक्सेसिव वेस्ट प्रोडक्शन रिसाइकलिंग प्रोग्राम से वो प्रॉब्लम दूर हो जाएगी. That problem will go away, right? Then luxury brands often emphasize craftsmanship and longevity. इसका कोई connection ही नहीं है. Neither it connects with excessive waste production, nor does it connect with labor exploitation. The rise of online shopping, again, it doesn't connect with any of these, right? Neither of these. Then D says consumer awareness campaigns are highlighting the importance of ethical consumption. But the paragraph is about eliminating waste in the process of production. Plus, it has a social impact, but then social impact is related to labor exploitation. Yes or no? So again, it neither addresses waste production, excessive waste production, nor labor exploitation. Therefore, the correct answer is A. I hope you have understood this very clearly. We have to stick to what is given here. है ना, हमें उसके बियॉन्ड नहीं जाना. सोशल इम्पैक्ट बहुत जनरल सा हो जाएगा. आई होप अथर यू अंडरस्टूड द पॉइंट. So now a fill in the blank question coming up. So basically it's a mixed bag. So students, you're going great guns, wonderful. बहुत बढ़िया जा रहे हो आप लोग. करो. Great. Janvi says A. Okay. So let's discuss this question quickly. While it is, क्या होता है, हमको लॉजिक और क्यूज लेने पड़ते हैं in order to solve the fill in the blank question. When I say while this word is giving me a clue that we are actually talking about a contrast here. There is a contrast here, yes or no? So while it is possible, while it is, when I say dash possible to implement inflation index, cash entitlements and food stamps, the dash nature of food prices would make it more difficult, right? What would make it more difficult, first of all, right? The stable nature, will it make it difficult? No. The slow nature of food prices is out of context, right? Out of context. I cannot say slow nature of food prices, right? The word slow doesn't describe nature correctly, right? The unpredictable nature of food prices would make it more difficult, right? This can also be there. So we can consider volatile, we can consider unpredictable. Okay. While it is not possible to implement, now if it is not possible, then it becomes totally illogical for me to say that it becomes difficult, right? Right? अगर possible ही नहीं तो फिर difficult कैसे होगा, right? So I'll not say while it is not possible to implement, right? If it is not possible, right, I cannot say the unpredictable or volatile nature makes it difficult, right? So I should say theoretically possible. So theoretically it is possible, but practically it becomes difficult. That is how the contrast will come. Contrast ऐसे आएगा, theoretically possible है लेकिन practically difficult है. और वो difficulty क्या है? It is clear, right? The volatile nature of food. Therefore, the correct answer is A. ठीक है. Okay. So Akriti, Janvi, wonderful. Um, let's take a look at question number 13 now. Along with the sharp rise in dash, a recession. See, the key here is recession. The word recession, right? Would eventually result in more men and women, children living in dash. So obviously when recession happens, right? Recession would result. These are the clues, right? Recession would result in what? In what? It has to be unemployment, right? It cannot be fatalities, death, or crime. None of these options are correct. D is the correct answer. As simple as that, right? So did you see how we can pick the clues? Okay, that was important. Well, absolutely. Again, we can see, first of all, dissimilar and opposite are grammatically wrong. You cannot say dissimilar to or opposite to. It doesn't contextually fit in. Okay. Contrary to, because there is a contrast here. Comparable to cannot be used because there is a contrast. Simple, right? No, opposite to does not mean contrast, right? Opposite to does not necessarily, it means contrast, but then when I say opposite to popular belief, right? Okay. So we usually don't say opposite to popular belief, right? I mean, although it will not be grammatically completely wrong, but yes, right? Uh, Contrary to popular belief is what we usually say. In context, I'm saying, right? Dissimilar to popular belief. Now, see, the point is these words can be used. I'm not saying these words cannot be used before popular belief. I cannot say, I can say dissimilar to popular belief. I can also say opposite to popular belief. But then in this particular context, it doesn't fit in, right? Red meat makes human beings what? So comparable is definitely not there, right? Okay. So when I say dissimilar, dissimilar has a different connotation. It's not similar, right? Contrary to the popular belief means yes, what people actually believe, right? In any case, this word should be aggressive, right? That humans aggressive. So happy, intelligent cannot be the words in any case, right? Because the opposite belief, the belief was opposite to the fact that they were aggressive. So we want a contrary idea to this aggression, right? Hostile is not correct. This is not the belief. Hostile means there is animosity. है ना उनके मन में नफरत है animosity है. That's not the context here, right? This is also out of context. Comparable is in any case wrong. C is the correct answer, right? I hope you understood, right? So इसमें भी we could find it just with the word, the second word, aggressive can be a clear indicator. Okay. Okay, let's see. An earlier judgment. Okay, the High Court has directed the state governments to identify natural water resources in the state, and so it says to identify, to identify natural water resources in the state. So if it says to identify, I need a parallel for this. To identify का parallel क्या होगा? To identify का parallel क्या होगा? ठीक है? So first of all, to establish, it can be, right? To identify natural water resources in the state and establish. Can I say establish all illegal encroachments? Will the court ever pass such a directive? क्या कभी court बोलेगा you establish illegal encroachments? No. So establish is wrong, although it fits into the parallel. So first, it seems, the High Court has directed the state government to identify natural resources of the state and what? To identify का parallel क्या होगा? Establish हो सकता है, but then this is not contextually correct here. To remove, right? To identify natural water resources in the state and to remove all illegal attacks. This perfectly fits in. Citing also perfectly fits in here. This is the correct option, right? Cancelling an earlier judgment, it has directed. Now, build all illegal encroachments, right? So again, build will be wrong. Why would the court ask people to build the illegal encroachments? Illegal. Quoting, destroying. Now, quoting an earlier judgment, the High Court has directed the state government to identify natural water resources and state. Again, destroying is wrong. Simple. I need a verb, not a verb plus ing form. We already formed a parallel here, right? Destroying is wrong. Correct is B. समझ आ गया? Right? This way also you can identify. And sometimes grammar helps you to solve fill in the blank questions also. Like you identify one parallel construction to identify, you need another parallel construction, remove, which would be the correct choice. Yes, Atharva full marks. Yeah. Atharva, Janvi. Yeah, great going. Atharva, Janvi. Yoshika. Yoshita. Yes, Yoshita. Yes. Great. Chirag is coming up with answers. Great, wonderful. Behaving in a behaving in a dash and serious way, even in a dash situation. Even in an angry situation cannot be the answer. Even in a tricky situation can be the answer. But behaving in a flamboyant way is not correct. Flamboyant means to like trying to show off a lot, right? Doesn't make sense here. Behaving in a cool and serious way, even in an astounding situation, right? Astounding is like something that is surprising. Doesn't make sense, right? Difficult situation is the correct context, right? So difficult is correct. Hmm? Astounding is really something makes you right surprised. Doesn't make sense here, right? So behaving in a calm and serious way, even in a difficult situation. Best option is A, right? Great. Yes, Chirag, you are very nice to bounce back. You solved the question very quickly. That was a good one. Okay, देखते हैं. Question number 17. We have now ample evidence that, first of all, the word evident is wrong. It should be evidence. This is very clear. We now have ample evidence. There should be a noun, not an adjective. Simple. That the desirability of events, okay, desirability of events affects the adaptational outcomes more than the amount of change that they require. Okay, let's look at the options now. We have now ample evidence. Okay, fine. We now have ample evidence. Probably it should be we now have. So the sequence has to be put properly, right? We have now ample evidence is not correct. We now have ample evidence, right? So have should be put before ample evidence for a proper modification of structure, right? So we now have ample evidence, right? So we now have ample evidence is wrong. So A is gone. We now have ample evidence that the desirability of events affects the adaptational outcomes more than the amount of change that they require, right? So nothing wrong in B, so to say, can be considered. We now have, it has the same problem, right? No, we now have ample evidence that the desirability of events affects or affects, which is correct, right? You remember, affects with an A is a verb. Affect with an A is a verb, and effects with an E is a noun. Okay? ए वाला जो इफेक्ट है वो वर्ब होता है, ई वाला जो इफेक्ट है वो नाउन होता है. समझ आया? सो यहाँ पे क्या आएगा, नाउन आएगा कि वर्ब आएगा? हाँ हाँ, effect is a noun, but then here in this context we now have ample evidence that the desirability of events affects that, which means you are talking about the action here, not about a thing. यहाँ पे verb आना चाहिए, noun नहीं आना चाहिए, and therefore B is correct, C is wrong. Okay, C is wrong. C is wrong precisely because affects is wrong. Okay, we now have ample evidence that the desirability of events affects the adaptation outcomes more than the amount of changes that they require. Okay. Okay. Amount of change, it should be right. It says amount of changes. Amount of change is correct, not changes. This is wrong. So D is also wrong. The only correct answer is B. Right? In all the other options, something or the other is wrong, right? Here evident is wrong. Okay. Here B is correct, no, nothing wrong in it. C again, effects is wrong, and D changes is wrong. I hope that makes it very clear. Solve this one now. 300 marks, I think it would be a borderline case. IPMAT Rohtak, I am scoring around 300 marks. Should make sense. And by the way, those who want to buy the GIPMAT mock series, right? Those who want to buy the GIPMAT mock series, there is some discount offer going on. Plus, you have the curated series of 18 mocks before you can go for the actual exam with full confidence. Yeah. So you can subscribe or buy the IPMAT series. Okay, IPMAT का mock series आप ले सकते हैं, right, as early as possible because there is only 1 month to go, I believe. Yeah, sorry. So at Top Rankers, we have a curated mock test series of IPMAT comprising 18 sets of mocks, which you can buy at a much discounted price at this point of time. Okay, 300 marks अच्छे होते हैं, right, in IPMAT Rohtak. So you've already started talking about meditation and all. Yeah, some of you, meditation is a good thing to do just before the exams. It helps a lot, by the way, right? I can see some discussion going on the screen about meditation. It's a good idea, right? Simply, even if you close your eyes and take deep breaths, it will help you enhance your brain functioning. Great. So the flippers or tail of whale or seal lack insulating blubber, but counter current heat exchangers. Okay, fine. As I've been telling you that the structure of the sentence matters, let's look at the structure of this one. Okay, the flippers or tail of a whale or seal lack insulating blubber, but counter current heat exchangers. I am going to put it this in brackets. Why? Because this is the subject of the sentence. Greatly reduce. So reduce is the verb, right? Is verb का subject क्या है? The subject of this verb reduce is counter current heat exchangers. Yes or no? Yes. So counter current heat exchangers greatly reduce heat loss in these extremities as it does in the legs of many birds. When it says as it does, don't you think that this it refers to the heat exchangers only? So the sentence patterns is like counter current heat exchangers greatly reduce heat loss as it does in the legs of many birds. So counter current heat exchangers, number one, it reduces heat loss in these extremities. Number two, it also reduces heat loss in the legs of many birds. समझ आ रहा है? So this being the case, here there should be a plural pronoun. Have you understood this? Right? So now, right? Somebody has also already given me the correct answer. Yeah, Chirag, you are there. Bang on. Right. Greatly reduce heat loss in these extremities as it does. This has the same problem. Cannot be the answer. Greatly reduce heat loss as it does. This has the same problem. Cannot be the correct answer. Greatly reduce heat loss in these as they do. Exactly. They refers to this. Heat exchangers. Okay. This is correct. This should be the correct answer. Greatly reduce heat loss. In any case, this is wrong, right? As these do is also wrong because these refers to a particular thing, right? When I say these or those are demonstrative pronouns, they have particular references, right? Okay. Okay, Jay, try this one out. Right. I hope you understood the previous question very well. Right. The correct answer is C. Yeah. Now we move on to the next question. Question number 19. Yeah. See, first of all, in NPAT, there is no negative marking, students. So, if you're going for NPAT, first of, there is no negative marking. So, out of 120 questions, you should be attempting all the questions. So, most students will do that, right? So, a score of 100 will be a very safe score. I'm talking about a very safe or an excellent score. But even if you score in the range of 85, 90, would be good for even Mumbai and Bangalore campuses. Yeah, both Mumbai and Bangalore campuses, it would be fine. I hope that clears the dust, right? Anything below 80 would be risk zone. In NPAT, anything below 80 would be the risk zone, right? 80, 85 would be fine. 85, 90 would be really good. And between 90 to 95 would be really great. You will stand a good chance, right? Especially for the Mumbai and Bangalore campus. Yeah, fine. Now, coming down to this question 19. Uh, let's look at the question. Now it says the part in bold is correct. Okay, there is no problem with the part in bold. Which part has an error? That's what we need to figure out from the options, right? The wellspring of so many failed predictions was the widespread acceptance of a nonsensical precept. Okay, the young doesn't vote. The young, the young, the young is equal to young people. Yes or no? The young is equal to young people, and therefore this is plural. Yes or no? Okay. So the young doesn't vote is wrong, right? The young, so the young, it should be the young doesn't vote. This is the wrong thing. It should be the young do not vote, right? It should be the young do not vote, should be the correct answer. Do not vote should be the correct answer, right? It says doesn't vote. This is wrong. So this basically asking us to find out grammatically which is wrong. Okay, contain an error. So this contains an error. C is the correct answer. I hope you have understood this, right? Correct. Try this one out. हाँ, हाई जाएगा जय, हाई जाएगा। मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, देखो पहली बात तो ये है कि एनपैट में जो क्वेश्चन है 120, उसमें कहीं नेगेटिव मार्किंग है नहीं, और उनका पेपर रिलेटिवली थोड़ा इजी भी आता है। पॉइंट ये है, और यूजुअली लाइक when the students are not afraid of the negative marking, they will do it very fast also, psychologically प्रेशर कम होता है थोड़ा। हाँ, my point is 90 to 95 will be the safe score. I still feel that it would be a good score. Yes, with some practice I think you will be able to achieve it. Right. IPMAT इंदौर जितना टफ नहीं होता है वो। Okay, again, this says hinges over. Bitcoin success hinges over. This is wrong. It should be hinges on. You know, it hinges on to something, right? It hinges on the trust, right? To hinge on is the correct phrase. To hinge over is not the correct usage, right? To hinge on is to depend on or to be connected with it. Okay, so it doesn't make sense, right? This is wrong. Over is wrong. On should be the correct one, right? So, well, so that makes it very straight and simple. Yeah, the correct answer is A. It should be on in place of over, right? Yeah, I hope you've understood this, right? Now, yeah, students, you're all going great guns, right? Some wild card entries have been there in my session, it seems, and then most welcome, all of you, right? Right. Aya, would you want to solve a tough question, students? Right. So, if you are interested in solving a tough question, I would want you to take you to question number 31. Try this out. Right. I did not want to really trouble you with a difficult question just one day before the exam. लेकिन एक तो सॉल्व कर सकते हैं मेरे ख्याल से, एक दो। Try this up. Just to flex your muscles. Some heavy weight lifting. Do some heavy weight lifting. Yeah. Let's see how it works. Oh, option D is not visible, it seems. See, students, option D is not visible, and that is not the correct answer. Okay? Just imagine that there are, just assume that there are only three options, A, B, and C. So, Jay, what do you think is the solution for you? Right? That you feel stuck now. What do you think is your solution? Right? I can understand your state of mind, but what do you think is the way out? What is the solution now? Yeah, welcome, Asta. तो दूसरा अटेम्प्ट कब होता है इसका? Yes, right? This is a question that you will skip. Yes, I think you should skip such questions, right? So I was talking about difficult questions, right? किसी ने मुझसे पूछा था कि सर कैसे पता चले कि यार आरसी में मैं कैसे पता करूं कि ये डिफिकल्ट आरसी है कि इजी आरसी है, whether I will be able to solve it or not. See, you will get stuck and somebody is there with the answer, bro. Wonderful. At the rate broccoli. अब इसमें इसका नाम नहीं पता मुझे, right? Right. So I mean, like, it's a coded name, it seems, but then uh, one person has come up with an answer, it seems. Really nice to see that, right? क्या बात है आस्था? Wonderful, wonderful, right? Wonderful, right? A, B, and C, we are considering only three options, right? And I can see that potentially, right? तीन आंसर्स जो मैं अपने इस पे देख रहा हूं, तीनों सही आंसर्स दिए हैं. A is the correct answer. Akriti, you are right. Right? I am really impressed. Right? Huh, I am really impressed. ठीक है, and very happy also. Because this was not an easy question. सबने सही आंसर लगाए. Right? तो आपके सर पे ताज रख लो आप. Right? And be rest assured, if you show this kind of expertise in the actual exam, there's nothing that can stop you from scoring well. Yeah? Yeah. Astha at the rate broccoli, Akriti, all of you. Right? Yeah. Nice to see you solving this question correctly. I'll quickly explain this question for the benefit of those who haven't solved it. Right? Anyone who has common sense will remember that the bewilderments of the eyes are of two kinds. Right? So basically, when you talk about your eyes of the mind, right? So he basically talks about the eyes of the mind and eyes of the body, and compares both, and tells us, the author tells us, that when it comes to the eyes of the mind, you know, bewilderments as in your confusions, okay, right, and arise from two causes, either from coming out of the light or from going into the light. So basically, those who can understand this, that the ones who are confused because either they have come from darkness to light or they are going from light to darkness. Oh, by the way, what is darkness and light here? Darkness is ignorance and light is knowledge. Yes or no? Darkness is ignorance and light is knowledge. By the way, on the 4th of May, you are going from darkness to light or light to darkness? I'm asking you. On the 4th of May, you're going from light to darkness or from darkness to light? क्या लग रहा है आपको? Yeah. So basically the author क्या बता रहा है इसमें? Anyone who has common sense, ठीक है? मतलब he's talking about any person who has common sense. मतलब it's a commonsensical thing to understand. क्या? Will remember that the confusions of the eyes are of two kinds. Okay? So if somebody is getting confused, hello, you should understand that that person has either come from the world of ignorance to the world of knowledge, or he has moved from the world of knowledge to the world of ignorance. In both the cases, the person will be confused. Correct? Just like a person जिसकी आईज अगर एकदम से डार्कनेस से लाइट में आएगा तो भी उसको तकलीफ होगी, और लाइट से डार्कनेस में जाएगा तो भी उसको तकलीफ होगी. So in both the cases, the person will be bewildered, and a person of common sense can understand this. Okay, fine. Okay, that's what he's saying, right? And he who remembers this, right, this person with common sense, when he sees anyone whose vision is perplexed and weak, okay, will not be too ready to laugh, because he can understand, he will be compassionate. Hello, I can understand why you are confused. Either you've entered from darkness to light or from light to darkness, from knowledge to ignorance or ignorance to knowledge. I can understand this. And since the person can understand, he'll not laugh at that confused person. ठीक है, वो ये बोल रहा है, ठीक है, वो ये बोल रहा है. He will first ask whether that soul of man has come out from the brighter light and is unable to see because unaccustomed to the dark, or having turned from darkness to the day is dazzled by the excess of light, right? So basically, it's a very complex way of saying a very simple thing, right? If a person of common sense can really understand, right? If a person is really confused or is troubled, the trouble is because he has entered from darkness to light or from light to darkness. In both the cases, the person will be in a state of confusion or bewilderment. And yes, somebody who can understand this will not laugh at that person. कोई उस पे हंसेगा नहीं. Yeah, that's the point. So, well, okay, and he will count the one half. Now, or if he has a mind to laugh at the soul, which comes from below into the light, there will be more reason in this than in the laugh, which greets him who returns from above. Now, you know what? The last sentence tells you that one, he would not laugh. But let us say, even if he laughs at that person, you know, like uh, which comes from below into, I mean, the laughter that the person has, right? If a person sees a person in a state of confusion, okay, it is always better to laugh at a person और फील अम्यूज्ड, है ना? उस पर अगर आपको हंसी आ रही है जो डार्कनेस से लाइट की तरफ आया है एंड ही इज फाइंडिंग इट डिफिकल्ट टू मैनेज, बट एटलीस्ट he is a happy soul and you are laughing at him because of that internally. Okay, see, he is finding it difficult to manage this dark light, so it is okay. So last sentence is telling us that. ठीक है, ठीक है. So, and he will count the one happy in his condition and the state of being. This is A. And he will pity the other. So, who is the one? The one happy is the person who enters from dark to light. And the one whom he is pitying will be the person who enters from light to darkness. Simple. A is the only possible answer. Did you understand? There are only two people here, right? He will pity, right? He will count. This is the person who is considering, who is sort of paying attention to that person, who is coming from light to darkness or darkness to light. So, happy one is darkness to light, and the one whom is pitying is the person who enters from light to darkness. A is the only possibility. Just after this, because the previous sentence talks about these two possibilities, light to darkness and darkness to light, and how this person will appreciate both. That's about it, right? And nice to see you getting this question right. I'm really happy. Now, after this, let me put a simpler question to you. Yeah, students. Okay, let's quickly look at this question. Now I'm going to move a bit faster in the session, students. Yeah. And since I can see you answering the questions really fast, we can move faster. Adolf Hitler was able to seize power in Germany in 1930s, partly as a result of tensions and crises that beset. Okay, fine. Uh, it seems yes. Most of you have got to the correct answer. C is the correct answer, right? Was able to seize the power and as a result of that dash and obscure figure, right? That beset the country at that time. And if those circumstances had not existed, right? And it says if that circumstance had not existed, right? So, well, if those circumstances is correct, right? This is not correct, right? The tension and crisis that beset the country at that time, and if those circumstances would have not existed, is not correct, right? If those will should be had not, right? It cannot be would have not existed if those is not correct, right? So if those had not existed, simple as that, right? Tensions and crises that beset the country at that time, and if that circumstance has not existed, the tense in all of these are wrong, right? The correct answer is C. Kudos. Wonderful. Let's move on to the next question. And in fact, I think we solved up to which question. I would want to do a rapid fire round now. I think in the first round we solved up to which question? I'll tell you. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 18. Okay. So I'll start from question number 21. So I'm putting the question on the screen, students, right? So, and you're going to solve it, right? And we are going to go rapid fire. Yes. We start off now and quickly, जितनी जल्दी हो सके आप अपने आंसर्स को क्लीन करिए. I will move on to the next question. Yeah, I'm waiting for your responses, students. Yeah. Yes, Yoshita, Jaya, Gulam Nabi, Akriti, Akash Gupta. Wonderful. Great going. I'm sure even those who are not posting the messages are solving the questions. Okay, let's quickly analyze the question here. It says by enabling the poor to reap the benefits of the economic growth, much depends on. When I say much depends on, right? So I say by enabling the poor to reap, I should tell them like by doing this, something should be targeted, yes or no? But this says much depends on. This is not what something is targeted, right? Like in fact, I should say uh, in order to reap. In fact, in order to help the poor, in order to For the poor to reap, for example, you will understand it this way. If I put it this way, for the poor to reap the benefits of economic growth, much depends on how private sector, right? But if I say by enabling, then some result is expected. So here, this portion doesn't tell you the results, right? It says much depends on. Much depends on how the private sector, for what? So for the poor to reap the benefits of economic growth. So this should be the objective then. So to say, this portion has an error, right? So if I rectify this portion, the other portion is parts of the sentences are correct. Sentence is correct. For the poor to reap the benefits of economic growth, much depends on how the private sector is encouraged to pursue social development through for profit. It should be, there should be a hyphen here. The hyphen was missing here. In that case, yes. If you take factor in the hyphen, yes, D is also wrong. But then consider that hyphen is here, right? It's a typo. Hyphen is here. Okay. So here we are considering this word as hyphenated. For profit initiatives. For profit initiatives. For profit is a hyphenated adjective. Okay, so the problem is by enabling the poor to reap, much depends on. There is an inconsistency here. Okay, for the poor to reap benefits of the economic growth, much depends on. This makes the sentence meaningful. So there is an asynchrony. इन दोनों के बीच का connection नहीं बैठ पा रहा है, right? By making you study, उसके बाद मुझे क्या बोलना चाहिए? By making you study or by making my students work harder, I want them to score well. अब ये sentence meaningful हुआ. मैं बोलूंगा by making my students work harder, much depends on how they work. It doesn't make sense, right? That's the point, right? Great. And that's why this portion is wrong. I hope you understood. समझ आ गई बात? सबको समझ आ गई. अब next one. Many instead of much, देख लेते हैं किसमें many instead of much, किसमें बोल रहे हो? Much depends on. नहीं many depends on थोड़ी होगा. Much depends on ही होगा. It cannot be many, Jaya. Yeah? Huh. It has to be an uncountable noun there, right? Much depends on. A lot depends on. That's how we read it, right? Many depends on is not correct. Okay? Yeah. Next question in the row. जल्दी बताओ क्वेश्चन नंबर 22. Wonderful. Anant has, yes. Anant, you are there. Very good. Right. Owners of private hostels located in not only, which means they are doing something which is not good. Okay. Whimsically. All this very clearly indicates something negative is taking place, right? Okay. So, well, what they are doing about these taxes, right? Let's see. Avoiding taxes or evading taxes, right? Both can be done, right? Well, it says, and the second blank, not only avoiding taxes, but or also functioning whimsically in the front of, in any case doesn't make any sense. This is gone, right? Are not only paying taxes, they're not paying taxes for sure because they are functioning whimsically. So they are not doing something that is correct, right? So they're not paying taxes, they're not checking taxes. Doesn't make sense. B and C gone, right? They're evading taxes, right? Whimsically, in the absence of regulatory body, perfectly fits in, contextually fits in. This is the correct answer. Great. Wonderful. Next one. Yeah, quick. हो गया? Yeah. Oh, there was some glitch. नहीं नहीं ये कुछ नहीं हुआ. मुझसे गलत. I pressed the wrong key. I pressed the wrong key. I am back. I hope you are able to see me. No, no, it did not end. It did not end. I'll not end abruptly. Yes. Right. देखो भाई मैं वापस आ गया. Are you able to see me? Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. By mistake, I pressed the wrong button. I am back. Wait. So, contractors across the state have. Okay, fine. Let's look at the correct option for this question. Okay. Contractors across the state have thought to stop the work. Okay, can be considered. On the scheme after the minister failed. This gives us a clue. Failed to give them concrete dash of timely payment. Okay, this gives us the clue. Okay, fine. Have decided to stop work. Decided can also be there. Wished and started, a question mark, right? Failed to give them. This is a concrete demand cannot be correct. Concrete proof cannot be correct because it should be a noun, not a verb. This is a verb, right? Assurance can be there. Concrete guarantee of timely payment. But then started cannot be there, right? Guarantee is questionable, but then assurance is a better word. And decided can be there, started cannot be there. B is the correct answer. This is how you figure out. Fine. Started cannot be there, decided can be there. Finished. That's the correct answer, right? Okay. Next one. Wonderful. Yeah. Anant, Astha, Jaya. Wonderful. Nothing malfunctioned. It was my bad. I pressed the wrong key. अरे यार इसमें पोल चलता नहीं है. इसमें पोल नहीं चलता है. हाँ. और बहुत बढ़िया. आंसर्स तो आप लोगों के सही आ रहे हैं. वंडरफुल. Right? Every third person visiting a doctor happens to what? Happens to what? That's the question here, right? Happens to all, happens to sick, happens to agonize. These words can be easily eliminated, right? बहुत आसानी से eliminate हो जाएंगे. from a clinical or psychological disorder, right? So happens to suffer associated with tremblers, right? Whatever it is, tremblers or tremors or whatever it is, associated suffer has to be the correct answer. Simple, right? तो बी नहीं होगा ना. Every third person visiting a doctor happens to sick. Happens to be sick होता तो सही होता. यहाँ टू लिखा हुआ है तो sick नहीं आएगा. ठीक है, तो बी और सी नहीं होगा. रितिश, हाँ, बी और सी नहीं होगा, सी ही होगा, राइट? बिकॉज टू बी नहीं है, यहाँ पे टू है, सो सिक कैन नॉट फिट इन एट ऑल, राइट? इट कैन बी इजीली एलिमिनेटेड. वेल, ग्रेट गोइंग. ये देखो, पैराजम्बल्स पे मैंने एक सेशन लिया था, बहुत डिटेल्ड, 3 घंटे का. आई टुक ए सेशन जस्ट अ फ्यू डेज एगो. बट देन देखना, जो इजी वाले पैराजम्बल्स होते हैं, आई एम श्योर यू विल बी एबल टू सॉल्व. या हेमा, जो इजी वाले पैराजम्बल्स होते हैं एग्जाम में, उनको देख करके यू विल बी एबल टू गेट अ गट फील. अगर इजी है तो सॉल्व करना, नहीं तो छोड़ दें. दैट्स द ओनली वे. क्योंकि 40 क्वेश्चंस में आप सोचो ना कितने पैराजम्बल्स आते हैं. 2 और 3 पैराजम्बल क्वेश्चंस, दैट्स अबाउट इट. यू आर स्टिल लेफ्ट विद 37 क्वेश्चंस. तो 37 में से 30 आप 35 34 क्वेश्चंस कर सकते हो फिर भी. यस और नो? या 25th क्वेश्चन, बहुत सही. पैराजम्बल्स में कई स्टूडेंट्स को प्रॉब्लम आती है, तो ठीक है. दे आर टीटा क्वेश्चंस आल्सो, वेर इन यू हैव टू टाइप इन द ऑप्शंस, है ना? थोड़ा ध्यान रखिएगा. 25 का आंसर, डैश मेक्स द एक्ट्रेस ट्रिप टू द कंट्री डिफरेंट दिस ईयर इज दैट. सो दिस नहीं होगा, विच नहीं होगा, इट नहीं होगा, राइट? व्हाट मेक्स इज दैट, वो क्या है? dash to looking to raise funds for the biopic of a literature. So it's very very evidently D. D is the correct answer. ठीक है, तो इसमें attempting to raise funds हो सकता था, लेकिन this makes the actress's trip to the country different this year. Okay, this makes, what makes is that. तो is that से समझ आ रहा है कि what ही होगा यहाँ पे. It cannot be any other option. All are ruled out. It नहीं होगा, which नहीं होगा, this नहीं होगा, right? Is that very clearly indicates कि what makes is that. That is how it will come. Parajumbles का weightage is like around 3 to max 4 questions. 4 questions out of 40 questions, right? 4 to 5 questions out of 40 questions. Max 5 बोल दूं मैं तो. 4 to 5 questions out of 40 questions. उसमें से 2 तो बन जाएगा आपसे. You will be able to solve at least 2 questions. Why do you think that you will not be able to solve any parajumble question? But my point is, if you're not very confident about it, you can solve the remaining questions. So let us say parajumble accounts for 5 questions. 40 में से कितने बचे? There are 35 questions. Solve those 35 questions well. उसमें से भी 2-3 नहीं बने तो 30 to 34 questions. Solve them well with great accuracy. That's the point, right? Yeah. So don't worry much about what you cannot do just before the exam, students. That is very important. जिस पे आपका कंट्रोल नहीं है उस पे मत सोचिए. Okay, now you can see it out. Waiting it out, not correct. Thinking it out, not correct. Harrowing it out, not correct. Harrowing experience means an embarrassing experience, right? So it doesn't make sense here, right? So all these three options are gone. Sweating it out and routine matter, perfect fit. That's about it. Okay, A is the correct answer there. Solve this one. Great, wonderful. Let us check. Uh, Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. Let's check the flow of the paragraph. This famous quote, attributed to various people, including Albert Einstein, summarizes the state of school education in India. Despite the many changes it has undergone and many more recommendations implemented over the past many years, school education is anything but perfect. So basically, this portion tells us that the school education is not perfect. This gives people with authority, um, that's governments, education, officials, institutions, all the people with authority, ample scope to toy with the system, right? So since the system is not perfect, people have ample scope to really suggest recommendations, make changes, toy with it. Okay, system, which they do with alarming frequency. So since now, how does the structure of the passage go, paragraph go? That since the system is not perfect, that gives an opportunity to the authorities to keep toying with it, right? And that they are doing with alarming frequency. So the word alarming is important here, right? That brings in the author's perspective. Okay. Rules are changed and goalposts are shifted almost every other day. So this is happening at an alarming frequency. He adds one more layer to the idea. Yeah. Changing rules at the whims and fancies of some should stop. So he starts with the idea that education is not perfect, but at the same time, toying with it at high frequency, making changes on and off whimsically is not correct and it should stop. Now, what should come after this? Okay. Studies have shown that the no detention policy did help in reducing dropout rates, but has resulted in a fall in. Now, you know what? After this, he should be completing his idea of stopping this meddling with the education. Yes, sir. That should stop. That's what he's saying, right? So here, it's talking about no detention policy working in the favor of or education system for that matter, okay, did help in reducing dropout rate. So it doesn't connect with the author's thought of stopping something that is unnecessary, or I mean, that's not correct. Okay, the continuous alteration of education policies undermines the stability needed for effective learning and long-term improvement. So this word undermines very clearly tells us doing this is not good for us. Stop it. Why? Because it undermines. So this adds another layer to this. So this should be the correct answer, yeah? Okay, and this very clearly connects with the last sentence, okay? The latest is Karnataka's decision to introduce board exam. This is another alteration. But then he has already said here in the paragraph it should stop. So we should go further. This is going backward. Option C is going backward in the paragraph. It is one more thing that's being done by the government, yeah, that the author has already asked to stop. Huh? So this cannot be the answer. Going back to a system once found faulty is no solution. But then going back to a system, there is no reference of going back to any system here. However, correct answer is B. Wonderful students. Great going. Yes, Geeta Sahu. Geeta, I think she has joined session just now. Great. Yeah, students. Okay. So now let's look at this question carefully. Yeah. In the utility sector, a range of investments such as nuclear power stations, a range of investments. So here the subject is the subject of the sentence is range. A range of investments such as nuclear power stations, renewable energy sources, energy networks, and gas storage is problematic. Okay. Then it says either because they involve they. Now they refers to what? Range of investments. But then it's very important to understand here that the subject is range here. When I say range of X, Y, Z, whatever follows that, that is not the subject, right? Range is the subject here. So the subject is singular. The subject is singular. Students, do you understand this very clearly? Right? So either because they involve. No, it should be it involves, first of all. So they is wrong here. For the same reason, here also they is wrong. Okay, so A and B can be quickly eliminated. Understood? Did you understand this? Right? Because it involves, the range involves, the range is the subject, right? Have you understood this? Yeah, Ritesh? समझ आया? Have you understood this? A range of investments such as, so such as whatever, but then range is the subject here. Range is a singular subject. So दे किसके लिए आ रहा है? रेंज के लिए आ रहा है. गलत हो गया. दे किसके लिए आ रहा है? हाँ, सेकंड में भी रेंज के लिए आ रहा है, गलत आ रहा है. सी देखते हैं. As it involves, yes, this can be the correct answer. This can be checked. As it involves non-commercial risks, okay, which are either considered too great or its rates of return are not being attractive. Okay, let us see. A range of investments such as nuclear power stations, as it involves non-commercial risks, okay, which are either considered too great or its rates of return are not being attractive, okay, either because it involves non-commercial risks which are considered too great or because its rate of return are not attractive. Now, I think only these two are comparable, right? Non-commercial risks. See, non-commercial risks which are either considered too great is wrong, right? Either because it involves non-commercial risks which are considered too great. So non-commercial risks which are considered too great, or because its rate of return are not attractive. So the parallel construction is wrong in C. समझ आ रहा है? The parallel construction is wrong in C, right? So it says as it involves non-commercial risks which are either considered too great or its rate of. This is wrong, right? The correct thing is either because number one or number two. So this is the parallel construction. D is correct. C spoils the meaning of the sentence and breaks the parallelism. ठीक है? Either because one or two. So either or construction is correct only in D. Right? वो meaning बिल्कुल सही चल रहा है. Right? Right. Because here we need to give a reason, right? Is problematic. Why is it problematic? Why? Okay. So as it involves which are either considered, this is wrong. Too great. This is not the reason, right? This is the right way to frame it. Right. See, if I say which are either considered too great, see, after either I need to give two reasons, right? Here either modifies the word considered. Here either modifies the word because. Do you understand the difference between the two? Right? Either or is a correlative conjunction. For example, I tell you, I will not only have coffee, I will not only have coffee, or let us say I will not only have coffee but also tea. Is it correct? क्या ये सही है? I will not only have coffee but also tea. Is this sentence correct? Right? तो मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं, जब भी ऐसा कंस्ट्रक्शन आता है, right, either x or y, then these constructions should be parallel. So when I give a reason, either के बाद I give a reason or के बाद I give another reason. So either because one reason or because another reason. There are two reasons for why it is problematic. ठीक है, लेकिन यहां क्या बोल रहा हूं, which are either considered too great or its rate of return are not being attractive. तो पहली बात तो either considered is a verb or its rate of return is a noun. So either के बाद एक जगह मैं verb यूज कर रहा हूं, एक दूसरी जगह noun यूज कर रहा हूं, ये गलत है. Similarly, if I say I will have not only coffee but also tea, right? I will have not only coffee but also tea. ये सेंटेंस गलत है. क्यों गलत है? I will not only have, if I say I will not only have coffee but also tea, तो यार I will not only have coffee बोल दिया मैंने but also tea. ठीक है, लेकिन टी तो नाउन है ना, यहां तो मैंने वर्ब यूज कर दिया हैव. तो मैं चाय को केवल पीऊंगा नहीं, ऐसा तो नहीं बोल सकता. मैं क्या बोलूंगा? आई विल हैव नॉट ओनली कॉफी बट ऑल्सो टी इज करेक्ट. आई विल नॉट ओनली हैव कॉफी बट आई विल हैव समथिंग. तो किसी भी कोरिलेटिव कंजंक्शन के साथ, एक के साथ वर्ब आया दूसरे के साथ भी वर्ब आएगा, एक के साथ नाउन आया दूसरे के साथ भी नाउन आएगा, एक के साथ रीजन आया दूसरे के साथ भी रीजन आएगा. द कंस्ट्रक्शन हैज टू बी पैरेलल, राइट? सी में कंस्ट्रक्शन पैरेलल नहीं है. यहां पे ईदर के बाद इट्स अ वर्ब एंड इट्स रेट्स ऑफ रिटर्न इज अ नाउन. दैट्स व्हाई दिस कंस्ट्रक्शन इज रॉन्ग. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. थैंक यू. थैंक यू नमिशा. नहीं, कई फंडे क्या है ना, अटक जाता है दिमाग में, इसलिए मैं थोड़ा डिटेल में समझा देता हूँ क्या ही है. राइट, कोई बुराई नहीं है दिमाग में रखने में. ईदर और, नीदर नॉर, नॉट ओनली बट ऑल्सो, ये जितने कोरिलेटिव कंजंक्शंस हैं सारे केसेस में पैरेलल कंस्ट्रक्शंस होते हैं. इस क्वेश्चन नंबर 29 क्यों? Okay, so very simple, right? You can easily find false errors in the options in this case, right? So as the market is much deeper than what? First of all, it should not, it can be as the market. No, this is not correct, right? We need a contrast here, right? We need a contrast here. So since and as, these two options are straight away gone. Yes or no? It still lacks depth. अगर still lacks depth है तो इसका contrast चाहिए. As or since will not establish the contrast, right? It will draw a parallel, so it will give the reasons, right? So A and C are gone. किस लिए? As or since की वजह से. Now though we are left with only these two options, right? Right. It is lacking depth is wrong. It is lacking depth is wrong. This is lack is a non-continuous verb here, right? It lacks depth. It lacks depth is correct. So therefore B is the correct answer. Great. Understood? Mamta, did you understand? It is lacking depth is wrong. Lacking is not a continuous process. It lacks depth is correct. Right? You are watching the session is correct. You are attending the session is correct, right? But it is lacking depth. Lacking is not a continuous verb. That is how it is, right? क्लास खत्म होने वाली है. 6:35 हो रहे हैं. 25 मिनट और बने रहिएगा. 7 o'clock. I am going to call the shots, right? Yeah. और अब तो आपका एग्जाम शुरू होने वाला है, राइट? माइंड को बिल्कुल रिलैक्स्ड रखना है, ठीक है? कल बिल्कुल पढ़ाई नहीं करनी है. डोंट स्टडी एट ऑल टुमारो. दैट इज माय हम्बल सजेशन, राइट? रिलैक्स एंड कीप योर माइंड एज स्टेबल एज पॉसिबल, ठीक है? पॉजिटिव थॉट्स, ओनली पॉजिटिव थॉट्स, ठीक है? 30 हमने कर लिया है, 31 हमने कर लिया है. वेल, यू कैन ट्राई दिस आउट, राइट? Oh, 32. How do I? There is no way I can show you the option D here, it seems, right? Let me see if I can minimize this or something. What does it go? Oh, wow. That's better. Yes. Okay. It's wonderful. Okay. Let's take stock of the question. Right? Let us read it carefully and understand the theme properly. Let's see what works for us. Okay. So it's a mythological thing, right? After 6 generations of gods, right? After 6 generations of gods, okay, in the Babylonian, mm, okay, so after 6 generations of gods in the Enuma Elis, in the 7th generation, okay, the younger Igigi gods, the sons and daughters of Enlil and Ninlil, go on strike and refuse they go on strike and refuse their duties of keeping the creation working. This has created a problem, yes or no? Now the creation won't work. So something has to be done about it. Okay. So there you are. Then it says Enki promises to help. Okay. So this being the problem, Enlil and Nihil going on strike, and they are refused to perform their duty of keeping the creation working. In that situation, Enki promises to help and put Abzu to sleep, confining him in irrigation canals and places him in Kar beneath the city of Er. But the universe is still threatened. It is still threatened. Okay, so why? Because it's not working, right? So somebody responsible for creation and running of the universe, they have stopped. They have stopped working. Universe is still threatened, although some action has been taken. This is how the thing goes further. Okay. As Tiamat angry at the imprisonment of Abzu and the prompting of her son and decides to take back the creation herself. So still the creation is threatened. The gods gather again in terror and turn to Enki, here the same person, for help. But Enki, who harnessed Abzu for irrigation, refuses to get involved. The gods then seek help elsewhere, and the patriarchal Enlil, their father god of Nippur, promises to solve the problem if they make him the king of gods. So basically, there is a problem. First somebody tried to help, but then there was a problem in that person trying to help, especially Enki. And then finally what happens, they had to go to somebody else, and that person wants something in return, तभी वो हेल्प करेगा. ठीक है. अब आप सोच लो, ये बोल रहा है, ए बोल रहा है अब्जू was the name of the fresh water from the underground aquifers, which was the which was given a religious fertilizing quality in Sumerian. I mean, it doesn't make sense here, right? We need an option that really uh, throws light on this threatened problem. Okay. B बोल रहा है Abzu, god of fresh water, gets angry. It's already given. Getting angry is already given. So B simply repeats what is already written. So we can eliminate this out of scope. A is out of scope. B is simply a repetition. B is simply a repetition. Right. So we want something that can fit in. This brings about the total destruction of the world due to the. Now, the total destruction has not happened yet. You can see that the threat has followed. It's still threatened. The problem can still be solved. So total destruction is yet to happen, and the problem can be solved. So this has not taken place. This is going extreme. This can be eliminated. Therefore, Abzu, god of fresh water, co-creator of the cosmos, threatens to destroy the world with his waters, and the gods gather in terror. Enki promises to help. Why? Because of this situation. This exactly extends this and also connects with this, right? Therefore, the only correct option is D. I hope you have understood, right? Right? Moving on. Your students. Okay, let's come here. Well, it's an easy question, I think. Yeah, you could have quickly solved it. 33. Right. Two birds in a shot, or two birds with one stone, means to solve two problems in one go at once. Yes. So A is the only correct option. Yeah. Okay. right? So if you put all eggs in one basket, it means like, let us say, I'm going only for IPMAT Indore. I'm not considering any other institution. Then you're going to put all eggs in one basket, which means you're going to dedicate everything to one particular target. That it may be risky at times. Yeah, A is the correct answer. Right. You cannot judge a book by its cover. See, most of the options that are literal cannot be the correct option, right? Outward appearance, yes. Should be the correct answer. Yeah, D should be the correct answer. Right. These are the questions that can be solved very fast. The questions based on idioms and phrases, if you get them, yes, you should gear up and solve them very fast, right? Back to the exit is not the correct answer, right? Exit is the point from where you leave back to the drawing board, which means that you come back to the point where you started, not the exit, right? So you come back to the point of start, not exit. This is just the opposite. This cannot be the answer, right? Earlier stage of planning or development is equal to start, right? This is the correct answer. Understood? Yeah. Wonderful. Great going, students. Okay. Well, mm, it's A versus D, right? This question is A versus D. By accident, this makes it wrong, right? C is not correct. It says his attention, so it makes B wrong. Now we compare A versus D. Okay, I accidentally directed his attention towards the pyre, which was used by everyone to approach the boathouse. Nothing wrong. I accidentally directed his attention to the pyre by which the boathouse was approached. that towards the pair which was used by everyone. I think A is correct. No problem. A is correct. Absolutely fine. Need not consider D. Let's move on to the next question. Hmm. Okay, let's take a quick look at this question. देखते हैं. The rate of HIV infections in our country are among. First of all, this is wrong. The rate is the subject. It should be is. Right. So options A and C are gone. Right. Okay. Then it says is among the highest in Asia, being exceeded only by. Okay. Is among the highest in Asia, exceeded only by that of. Only by and only by that of. So rate should be compared to rate, right? The comparison of rate should be. So the rate of infections in our country is highest among, exceeded only by that of, which means by the rate of, which is not the case in B. So B is gone, D is selected. Understood? Improper comparison. Why not? This you have understood. D. Okay, the previous question. See, both are correct. Both A and D are correct. I found A to be more appropriate. Yeah, Hema, that's about it. There is nothing wrong with D, but the point is, like, there is no need to bring about that kind of change in the sentence, right? By which the boat was approached, right? Okay. So this you have understood. Now I would like to solve, I would like you to solve question number 65 straight away. So see, Solve this one. Right, by the way, a gentle reminder, um, at Top Rankers, we have curated mocks for IPMAT, which you can buy at a much discounted price now. If you're interested in going for that, you can go for it. Okay, solve this question now. Question number 38, again, I will do that. Once you solve this, I'll do that. Yeah, Anant, I'll do that. In question number 38, Anant, if you can remember, right, the rate of HIV infections, rate is the subject, okay? There are two options starting with R, which means they are in the plural. We want a singular verb. Okay, so when I say rate R among, so A and C are gone. That is why. No, they are not. Most of the questions that I made you solve today are around the same level of IPMAT Indore. Most of the questions, right? Maybe one or two questions may be of a bit higher level, but most of the questions, yes. Khyati, most of the questions we solved today are close to the IPMAT pattern. I mean, there are many questions of subject-verb agreement. Okay. जैसे अभी अनंत ने पूछा ना, the rate of HIV infections, इसका is नहीं होगा, is होगा, R नहीं होगा. So that way we can eliminate two options. Right. Okay. Let's look at question number 65. Right, Hemang, wonderful. You have come with an answer. Great. Okay, let's try to solve this. Yeah. There is a reason why millions of people try. Oh, uh, okay. So to bring it back to normal, yeah. There's a reason why millions of people try to solve crossword puzzles each day. Amid the well-ordered combat between a puzzler's mind and the blank boxes waiting to be filled, there is a satisfaction along with frustration. That's the reason, right? Even when you can't find the right answer, you know it exists. Okay, fine. Puzzles can be solved, they have answers, but a, a mystery offers no such comfort. So it's a comparison between puzzles and mystery. It poses a question that has no definitive answer because the answer is contingent. It depends on a future interaction of many factors, known and unknown. A mystery cannot be answered. It can only be framed by identifying the critical factors and applying some sense of how they interacted in the past and might interact in the future. So simply tells you that, right. So that's about it, right? Treating mysteries as puzzles is like trying to solve that is about it, right? You cannot treat mysteries as puzzles. Both are very different. Yes or no? B, C, D can be easily ruled out, right? This talks only about mystery, right? This also talks only about mystery. And approaching puzzles as mysteries may make us more comfortable. Well, it doesn't say that, right? In fact, all that it tells you that mysteries are more difficult to solve, and it can only be framed, but you cannot find the answer, right? So solve the unsolvable. Why? Because you cannot treat mysteries as puzzle. A is the only appropriate answer. So students, I wish you all the best for your upcoming exam, IPMAT Indore, on the 4th of May, right? So yes, I'm calling it off, and I think it must be the last class. I'm not very sure about it, right? Um, but then the point is, from my side, from the bottom of my heart, I wish you all the best. Keep your mind stable, be cool, be calm. Tomorrow, just sit back and relax. If you can revise a few concepts here or there, it's fine. All the best, right? So that's it from my side, students, right? Have a nice time ahead. All the best. Bye bye.